slides?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, perfect, because then that'll pick that up as well. Excellent. So good evening, everyone. As the slide indicates, I've got a long job title which does not really tell you what I do in North Yorkshire Council, but I'm Lynne Kilford and I manage the early development specialist teachers in North Yorkshire Council and Portage, and that's what we're here this evening to talk to you about. And I've got one of my wonderful, amazing Portage practitioners with me this evening. So, Laura, if you could introduce yourself, please.
Hi, I'm Laura and I'm a Portage practitioner for Scarborough, Whitby and Rydal.
Perfect. And now I'm just going to see, because I've lost my little, there it is. I lost my arrows to move my slides along. So tonight we're here to talk about Portage, and obviously if you've got any questions, if you want to pop them in the chat, if you want to unmute yourself to ask any questions along the way, then please do so. But tonight we're going to talk about what Portage actually is, what happens in a Portage visit. So that's everything from the initial visit and a typical visit to Portage groups, which we offer in North Yorkshire. We'll also talk a little about the support that we deliver in settings and how we integrate and how we work closely with other professionals. We'll also then give you that all too important bit of, if after listening to us this evening, you kind of think, oh, I need Portage in my life. We'll also tell you how you can refer for Portage, particularly how you can make a parent referral, because we've tried to make it even easier. So we haven't got complicated forms for parents to fill in. We'll also signpost to some really useful training and websites. And of course, there'll be time for some questions as well at the end, if anybody has any questions. But I must admit, as you can probably tell, I talk for England. So I'll probably just tell you everything you need to know before you even realise. But please do ask anything along the way. So what is Portage? The name Portage, I wish this is the one thing I could rebrand in life, because Portage really does not tell you what it is. It doesn't, that label doesn't add up to what we provide, and it'll all come clear throughout this presentation. But the name came from a town in Wisconsin, USA. Don't worry, I'm not going to do an American accent because I really can't. And it was where the first home teaching scheme began. But Portage came to England way back when. Laura wasn't even alive, but I was. It's been here in the UK since 1976. And it really came about because the town was situated between two rivers. And it takes its name from the French word porter, which is to carry. And it was really around travellers because they had to carry their canoes overland between the two rivers. And the journey was being made easier with Portage. And that's what we're all about. It's about making that journey when you're just coming for some parents into that SEND, special educational needs and disabilities landscape. We try and support and make it a little bit easier along the way. And we are a strengths-based service. So we always join you, the family and your child at the starting point. And we always build on what they can do. So it's all around child-led play. And we get on the floor pretty much within seconds to sit alongside your child. So we work with children and families with SEND between the 0 to 5 age range. And we always build on what they can do and we identify next steps in areas of development. So it's all around teaching play, but it's about you, your child, and the family. So I'm always dead proud, and I always throw this in, because I'm really proud that the National Portage Association has given us this little mark, and it's been for the last 3 years in a row where we are a 5-star service. And really that's down to the way that we manage our waiting lists, which I'll touch upon later on in this presentation. But we are a term time only service. But what we've done and what we do deliver, and we're going to tell you all about tonight, is offering that really flexible offer of support for you and your child. And the most important bit are the visits. So I'm just going to talk to the first bit, and then Laura's going to take over, because it is an opt-in service. So what that means is it's really up to you if you would like Portage or not. Because often in life, it can be a really hectic, busy time. And sometimes you might have some medical appointments and paediatricians or speech and language therapists, or HDFT health workers might say, do you know what, you really need a Portage referral, but it might not be the right time for you because you might have lots and lots of hospital appointments at that time. So you can use and really refer into Portage at any point across that 0 to 5 age range. And I'm going to hand over to Laura so she can talk a little bit, bless her.
Right, thank you. So yeah, like Lynn says, once you've been referred in, we do what we call our initial visits, and this is just really a chance to meet each other. We usually go in twos just because we've got some paperwork, which is the lone worker risk assessment to complete, and that's because I normally go to the houses on my own, so it's just to make sure it's safe for me to go there. There's no dog that I'm going to play with too much, really. And then it's just a chance, like I said, to meet each other. We can explain about our service and how we work, and you can explain about your family as well, and if we'll be the right support for you, because like Lynn said, sometimes the concerns about development might only be with speech and language, and in that case you'll need a speech and language therapist, which I'm not, but we can do lots of other things as well. On our initial visit, or maybe our first visit, we'll do our Portage assessment, which is our checklist, and it looks at the child from birth to where they are now. So it's quite detailed, and it lets us see where the child's strengths are and where they also need a little bit of extra help as well. And from that checklist, we can use that to set some outcomes for the family. So whatever you'd like to work towards to help your child, we can help build some outcomes around that. On my initial visit, as with every visit, I take some toys to play with as well. But it's okay if on the first visit the child doesn't want to play with me. I'm a stranger on that first visit. I'll never push that interaction, and some children I work with don't interact with others, and that's fine. But I'm there to play with the child when the child is ready to play with me.
Yeah. Thanks. And it really is that child's story. It's your story. It's your child's story. That's the most important part for us. That's the bit we love hearing about. And it really lets us know about you, your family, and your child, and the things that you would like, you know, us to work on with you and your child. Because it is with Portage, it is we engage together and we work together. So you will work alongside the Portage practitioner. It's not where we swan in for an hour and just do something and then disappear. It is that we all sit down and we work together and we play together. And I must admit, Laura says there that sometimes the children don't want to necessarily come and play with us straight away. However, they do tend to take a little bit of a glance at our boxes of tricks, because we always have a bit of a magic Mary Poppins bag that we bring and we put on the floor. And it always makes wonderful noises and flashes. There's always something that grabs somebody's attention. So it doesn't take long for someone to dive into our bags. So if we think about a typical Portage session. So Laura, would you like to talk through just a typical one that you might do? You know, you've had your initial visit, you've seen the family, we've set some outcomes, and then you come out and you do one of those lovely, amazing visits that I must admit, all parents, we get glowing feedback. Can you tell I'm proud of this service? Just think it's the best thing ever.
Yes, so like it says there, you can have up to 12 visits where we'll come and work on the outcomes that we'll set. I bring a big bag of resources, like Lynn said. My bag is a big Percy Pig bag, the ones from M&S, so it's bright pink with a big pig on the front, and they kind of build to recognise that as that's the bag that they can go in and start playing with things in. So in that bag, I will take some things to help children achieve their outcomes. So for example, for some children I'm working with at the moment, it's using two hands to do some threading activities. So I'll take some things in there for threading, I'll take some things in for the other outcomes as well. But I also just like to take things that I know the child's going to like as well. So usually that's bubbles. Everybody loves bubbles. We play with bubbles at some point. If they're like cars or things like that as well, you know, I'll make sure there's something in there that they like, that they want to play with as well. Might also play with their own toys as well, because if they really like Bluey or Peppa Pig or something like that, and they've got all the toys there, we can play with those as well, and show how your toys as well can work towards the outcomes. You don't need this big bag of tricks. The stuff you've got at home you can use to help them achieve their targets as well. I love it as well because it's very child-led, so there's no right way to play. So I might take some stacking cups, they're often in my bag, and yeah, we might build a nice tower for it to be knocked down again, but we also might just stack them in, explore different ways of stacking them in, if that one's going to fit or not, or I might just bash them together or slide them around on the floor so they make a good noise when you do that. I've not got a huge amount of resources, but it always interests me how children play with them, because they all play with them slightly differently on my visits. But on my visits as well, I also just ask how the family are, how the child's been since my last visit. Sometimes I went to a family last week and I asked how they all were, and she was like, we've all been really ill since you last came. We're just better now, so we've not really worked on your portage targets for a week. And that's fine, because you've got to get yourself better again, haven't you? But always just ask how they are, because something might have happened, something might have changed, wanting a bit of advice on, or something. So usually I can then help to signpost to any other information as well, which might help with anything that you need some more advice with as well. The sessions are an hour long, but there's no expectation that the child is going to sit and play with me for an hour, because we're learning something new, and it's really hard learning something new. So I often tell parents, it's like when I was learning to drive, I found learning to drive really hard for that hour lesson where you had to do all different things with your feet and your hands and looking and all sorts of things. And I'd go home after those lessons and I'd just like lie down on my bed for a while. And now I get in my car and drive off without thinking about it, because it's become second nature. But it's just putting yourself in that position where you were learning something new and it was really hard. And that's the same for the children. So however long they want to play and focus with me for is fine. If they want to wander off and get a snack, that's fine. Like I say, they're usually an hour, but sometimes I fall asleep during the visit, so I won't stay. I'll just go home, because they've done enough for the day then as well. And like Lynn said, just making sure parents are really part of my visit, so we'll all come and sit on the floor together, and work together and try different things to help them achieve their goals. And if something shows some signs that it's been working during the home visits, parents can then carry that on until my next visit to see how it goes. Sometimes I might leave some toys with families as well if they've had some success with it for the outcomes, or just to keep practicing it before my next visit as well.
Okay. And it is like we're saying there, it is for an hour, because sometimes as well, yeah, your child may have had enough to play, but you can utilise that time to pick the portage practitioner's brains at the same time. It might be things that you're thinking about your child's development, or just questions that you want to know about. Where can I go for this? I need to have some more advice about sleep. The sleep routines really changed recently. What can I do? Because all of those aspects as well, we can support and we can help with, and we can signpost too. So, you know, we do a lot in that hour. and it's not just all around the play, but that is our main part of our work. But also we do offer portage groups. Now, portage groups are run half-termly in all areas. And when I talk about areas in North Yorkshire, if you're not aware, we kind of have cut North Yorkshire into 4 quadrants almost, 4 bits of locality. So we have portage groups that run in Knaresborough and Harrogate. We have them that run in Selby. We have them that run in Scarborough and Whitby currently, and in Richmondshire and Hambleton. But we are extending our portage offer from January 2026 so that we can have portage groups in every area. And we're just really securing venues now. And these are for children that either have had portage and have already had some time with portage practitioners, or they're on a waiting list for our current portage, and the waiting lists aren't too long in North Yorkshire, I'm pleased to say. The average waiting list at the moment is about 4 to 6 weeks, and that's only due to some capacity in certain areas, which I'll kind of touch upon. And or are currently working with portage. Yes, Catherine.
Is there no portage offering in Skipton area then, in Craven?
So we had in our venue as recently, we've just lost our venue. So what we're scrabbling around in the background, and I should have it secured next week, is a new venue for portage groups, because what we've had across our portage groups has been, because we're using spaces that are also being used for statutory work. We're trying to get a fixed time for parents on a fixed day that actually repeats right the way across the year, so that then people know exactly where it's going to be, when it's going to be. So it's going to be open to a lot more people and families in the future as well, but they know exactly where it is. So we're going to be running a wider stay and play group session alongside portage group session, where we're targeting certain children and young people that are on a waiting list. It is going to be stay and play and open to a lot more families at any one time. So the venue, as I say, will be secured next week, and all of those adverts and flyers will be flying out off our shelves in January. So keep your eyes open for those coming, and I will share those directly with you as well for each area.
We'd
so
like to
on that Facebook page.
Yes, thank you.
Absolutely. We want as many parents to know about that as we can possibly get.
All right, thanks.
Not a problem. So we do in portage as well. We've created and we've kind of rejigged our offer over the last couple of years or so. So we do have a flexible portage offer. So some of our portage practitioners do go and work in settings as well, where your child may be attending. So we do portage at home with parents who would like the support at home. But if a child is in a setting for 15 hours or more, then we can also support in the setting. Because sometimes, and I know that parents sometimes have concerns about that setting and that transition into settings. So we do support the setting as a whole with any child that's been referred into for portage. And anyone that we're currently working with, if they're transitioning into a setting, we support with that transition as well. So we make sure that we're supporting the child right through from that family home into the setting. And for some settings, it might just be a 1-visit handover. For other settings, we do 3 visits. And for some settings, we kind of do a follow-up visit as well. After we've done 3 transition visits and into the setting, we then check in. So after a few weeks, we will check in again about that child and say, well, how are they settling in now? So we do follow that child through. And we do offer this hybrid approach, as I say, so 15 hours or more, we tend to work in the setting, but we can also work in the home with parents as well. So it's to provide more flexibility, really, to try and meet that demand and to answer, because actually in previous years, when I first joined North Yorkshire, some parents were coming through going, I'm really concerned about them when they start at their nursery. So that's why we've actually made this flexible approach. So we can support your child and you with that anxiety, because it's an anxious time. It's an anxious time for anyone when you're actually just going, can I hand my child over to these people and will they look after him or her? And you have that time, because I've been there. I was a parent of a child with special educational needs, and sometimes you were like, I don't know. So it has that little bridge as well, and that's what Portage do, where that kind of bridge into the setting as well.
Yeah, because when we share our outcomes with a setting as well, they can use those as part of any personalised planning that they have, so they know what level the child is at and what to be working on to help them to develop next. And I was just going to say as well, whenever I go into settings, if I'm doing Portage just in settings or a bit at home, a bit of nursery, I always give the parents a text or a call afterwards just to let them know how it is. It's not just that it's happening in nursery, you're not kept informed. I always let them know when I'm going, and then always let them know what's happened with it as well.
Yeah, because we do, we're key partners and we work together, and that's what Portage is. It's a true partnership. So we always make sure that you're informed at every step along the way. So we do work closely with lots and lots of professionals, far too many to mention, but here are just a few. And really just I'll just touch on the fact that, physio, when we're working with a physio, they tend to focus on improving the physical movement, strength and mobility, whilst occupational therapists address that ability to perform tasks. But we do link very closely in, particularly health visitors, but we link in with the hearing support and vision support service, the HIVI as it's called in North Yorkshire. So you might sometimes hear people talk about HIVI. That's who we mean. We work closely with paediatricians. So paediatricians will often inform us or let us know. And they sometimes will say, have you contacted Portage? Have you thought about a Portage referral? Because we do work very closely with health and social care. So we do work closely with early help. And of course, we do work closely with SEND casework officers as well. So we do liaise and work closely right the way across. But the best bit, and I'm not going to read these out to you, I'll just kind of the best thing about Portage is the fact, and this is what I can categorically say, so I joined North Yorkshire 3 years ago as the manager for Portage and Early Development Specialist Teachers in North Yorkshire. And I have not had a complaint about Portage. Every bit of feedback has always been positive and everybody's been glowing about Portage. The only bit that I always get is, can I not have them for a bit longer, please? Because unfortunately, what we're trying to do is make sure that we work with as many parents and as many families and as many children as we possibly can across North Yorkshire. So we want to support a lot of families, which is why in my time years ago, we could work with a child from birth up until they started school, right the way throughout for those 5 years. But unfortunately now we kind of say, right, 12 visits, and when I say 12 visits, that might be a weekly visit, it might be one a fortnight. And for some babies, because families do refer for 9-month-old children and even younger, but around hospital appointments, we kind of discuss that. So sometimes it's once every 3 weeks, because it really is whatever fits with you, whatever fits with your family. That's the way that we work. I've got another slide because I have to put in a couple of slides with feedback.
It's always so positive and so lovely just to hear how much the families have valued the visits. And like I say, sometimes like when the little one falls asleep, the parents just want to keep to chat to you, and because you've got that time with them, they want to chat to you and ask you more questions even though they're asleep, so you can't play with them as such. But yeah, it's really lovely to hear the impact that you've had when you've worked with a family.
as the manager, I very rarely get a thank you for the work that I do in the background. But the Portage practitioners, they get it all the time, and it's lovely. So they'll always send me pictures of cards that they've received with lovely notes, and it just makes my day. And I go, yes. So, you know, Portage practitioner role is the best role, I think, that you can possibly have in North Yorkshire, because it is just rewarding that we get to work with you, your child, and your family at any time that you need us. So I've got the bit that's about what do you need to be. So the criteria to actually make a referral for Portage. The main bit is the child needs to be living in North Yorkshire for North Yorkshire Portage. So it needs a North Yorkshire address. Now, some other local authorities have Portage. Not every local authority does have a Portage service, but the majority do. If you know a family member that you think, oh, Portage would be ideal for them, but they live in a different area, the National Portage Association keeps a list of all the Portage services across England. So if you're in doubt, but you've got a family member that, as I say, just lives somewhere else, but you think, actually, they've got a child that I think would really benefit from Portage. Unfortunately, I can't allow my Portage practitioners to go and travel miles, because I've said you're working with North Yorkshire families, I'm afraid. So, but as I say, we can look and see if there's a Portage practitioner or a Portage service in other areas. We always talk about parents and carers being willing to be active. So it is working together. We've had some incidents in the past where Portage practitioners gone in to work with a child and a family, and the parents gone, is it all right if I just go and pop and do my washing, and if I just go and do some washing up, and if I can just go and have a nap? Unfortunately, we can't, because we're trying to work with you and your child in terms of play. So we always say, please stay. And when I talk about parent, I talk wider. So parent, carer, grandparent, whoever is with your child at the time that you've arranged that visit. It's that extended family. So it might be uncle, and you can have as many people in that visit when a Portage practitioner comes out. So if you want, you know, grandma, granddad, uncle, because they sometimes look after, everybody can be around at that visiting time, because we can work with you all as a whole. It doesn't have to just be one. Okay. We always say the child is showing significant delay. Now, I take out the word significant and just go, it's if you feel that your child would benefit from some support, particularly around play, particularly around development. So you've got some things that you're starting to think, I'm not too sure. I thought they might be a little bit further on than they are. And if, you know, and sometimes we work with a lot of parents that have got, it's their first child. So you may not be measuring against anything, and we don't measure against anything either. But what is really important is they do not need to have a diagnosis. We work with everyone. So we are a needs-led service. So you do not have to have a diagnosis or a medical condition to access Portage. So it is around those additional needs, so special educational needs and disabilities, that wider additional needs. We always say, as I've said, age from birth to statutory school age. And as I've touched upon, it's that accessing 15 hours or more. Because then we might, if it's 15 hours or more in a setting, we might work more into a setting as part of our visits, but we'll also work with you and your child in your home if that is what you would like as part of that referral as well. Because like I say, we're as flexible as we possibly can be to make sure we can provide you with a service. So waiting lists. Currently, we are, I will say, I wish, and I keep putting papers to the powers that be in North Yorkshire, I wish that my service was huge and that I had a lot more people, particularly Portage practitioners, that I could send out there. Now, I am a very small team in each locality, so I have the equivalent, but don't let this put you off when I say this. I have the equivalent of two full-time Portage practitioners in each locality. So it is a small team, but I have also early development specialist teaching team. So I have an early development specialist teacher in each locality, and all of us work very closely. And we will all work with you and your family. Now, currently, and over the last 3 years, the longest that a family has had to wait for Portage has been 6 weeks. And that's why we also offer Portage groups, so that if you're in that 4 to 6 week waiting period, when we have a Portage group, we always say, if you would like to, come along. It's not a you must come along. It's that, again, opt-in service of, if you would like to come along, meet parents, you know, of children with similar needs, then please do come along. You know, I think it's just important to say that we always keep looking at waiting lists, and I always try and keep them as low as I possibly can. And that, again, is why we're extending that Portage group offer from January 2026, because I think that just ensures that every family gets something as soon as that referrals come in, so that you're not waiting too long, particularly when you've got a lot of other things in your life that you're waiting for, and you may be on a pathway that's got extensive wait list times. So we always try and make sure that we can get in there to work with you and your family and your child as soon as we possibly can. So, how to refer? Because I'm sure some of you might be sat on this call already thinking, I quite like the sound of this. I think this might just benefit my son or my daughter. So we've tried to make it as simple as we possibly can. Previously, it would be that you would have a really difficult form to fill in. It's not now. It is a very simple one-page referral form that a parent fills in, and it's really just to give us a little, a few details about your child. And it's available on request. You can either contact NY Send Hubs, but also in this presentation, you'll have my email. And you can contact me and I'll be able to send you the parent Portage referral form. If you're unsure about how to fill it in, we talk you through it. So we're very happy always to give you a call to actually talk through the form with you, and we will fill it in with you. Because all we ask for is that we have to have your consent to be able to do it. That's the most important thing, and the reason why we ask for a referral form is just so that we know that actually you're consenting to this service. But it does just ask some very simple questions and some key information, just like date of birth. What do they like, even? Because that gives us a few ideas of what we might bring on an initial visit. If a setting, so if your child's accessing a setting for 15 hours or more, they can make a referral for Portage, because we can go and work in the setting, like I said, to support the setting. And when we're supporting settings, it's around that early development play and how they can put in some different approaches and strategies. We also support settings to look at the environment. We support settings around that sensory as well. But the setting themselves can put in a hub referral, and they have access to the hub referral form. So if you do think that, where your child's accessing a setting and you think, actually, they may benefit for some Portage after listening to this and seeing these slides tonight, just mention it at the setting. They're all aware of Portage because I flag my wares wherever I possibly can, but it is worth just mentioning to the SENCO. And you can have that discussion with a setting. If the settings, are wondering, because in schools, so age 5 and above, a setting, before they can make a referral, they have to have done something called an assess, plan, do, review cycle. We don't ask for that for Portage. So they don't have to have had anything in the graduated approach. It is just that we will work for them. We will work with them. Do you want to touch on this, Laura? Because I feel like I've talked a lot. Right, I'm going to take the question from Catherine first, though, before we get onto the training.
Thank you. Yes, just thinking about referrals. So if I was, say, a newbie parent to the SEND world, I wouldn't know anything about Portage. Do professionals then guide you to it? So if my child is, say, 8 months and they're not in a setting, how does that family then find out about Portage to make the referral?
So we've been working very closely with all the health visitors in particular across North Yorkshire, and they recommend or they will refer to Portage after a discussion with the family, and that's where a lot of our referrals come from. What we're seeing as well on if a parent is going through a pathway, so say the autism pathway through to HDFT, on their letter at the bottom, there is a standard now where it links to Portage and the Portage offer in North Yorkshire. Now, it will be back on there is a lot of change and updates that are happening to the local offer currently.
So it's not on at the moment.
It's not on the local offer at the moment. And I am chasing this all of the times. But because a certain page has been updated, so I'm hopeful that it will be back on the local offer within 2 weeks. It's within the next 2 weeks that it should be back there. But everybody, so early help are very much aware of Portage. So if family are working with early help, all settings childminders are aware of Portage. Health visitors are aware of Portage. Speech and language therapy teams are aware of Portage. So we do work very closely, like I say, to ensure that we're kind of a signpost in that first instance, that if a family has a child under the age of 5, we are signposted.
Okay, and would the
coming across any agency
do that? Because obviously it could be that the family ends up with a paediatrician prior to being involved with any of these services. So do the paediatrician have responsibility?
Yes, so we get a lot of referrals from paediatricians now, and we attend paediatric clinics regularly as well, so that we can discuss numbers that are coming through.
Okay, and if a family is very overwhelmed with everything that's going on, can a professional make the referral?
Yes,
instead of the family.
We always say that the professional should make it first, to prevent that overwhelm, and not, because what we are trying to minimize is when a parent. So I get a lot of phone calls because I'm the contact number for Portage, so anybody can ring me to discuss Portage referral. And I get a lot of parents that say, I've been told to refer, but haven't had that wider discussion about what we are. So as I always do that discussion, well, this is what we do. Is this what you would like right now? And would you like to proceed? And I'll say 50% will be absolutely, and the other 50% will be, oh no, not yet. That's not what I thought you were. So what we're trying to do is ensure, and again, this is, my wide work where I'm going to a lot of team meetings, in terms of just making all of the health professionals and social care professionals that this is what Portage is, and you need to take that onus for the family to make that referral if you think it is appropriate, particularly in that time. But sometimes parents can, they'll have had the paediatricians and they might have been discharged, and then a child hits 4, because, a child will have this journey and might suddenly turn 4 or 4.5, and suddenly something happens. So we always say you can refer at any point on that 0 to 5 timeline for a child, and you might refer at 6 months. You might have a little bit of Portage, because what you can also do is re-refer. If you've had Portage once, that doesn't mean that's your Portage lot. You can refer as many times as you wish to Portage on your child's trajectory of, as I say, 0 to 5. That's all the parameters we've got. We just can't work with the over 5s, because I think would be inundated as well, and we have to kind of draw the line somewhere.
Yeah,
Does
and a
that
bit like
answer
what
that question, Catherine?
I was just going to say as well what Lynn was saying, and you saying about being overwhelmed. Like some parents, child can be diagnosed at birth, and the referrals get sent off straight away from birth, and then we receive them. We think, oh, this child is only a few weeks old, and if the referral is accepted, we'll make contact with our family. But we totally understand if it's not right for us now to be involved, because you want to go home with your newborn baby and everything that comes with that. But then they've got our number and we can explain about the service, so then they know how to get in contact with us again if they want us, if it's not the right time. A bit like Lynn was saying earlier on, if it's not the right time for the referral, just let us know. But at least then we know that you know about our service and that we're there for you if you want us.
And it's the same if a referral's made and actually then you change your mind, because things happen and you can make the or a practitioner might make the referral, and then just things happen in life. So, you can then just say, actually, now I want to pause it, and that's absolutely fine. And we'll pick it back up when you're ready, when you and your family are ready.
Okay. One has to bear in mind, though, that prime brain development time is not 36 months, and we really need to flood our children with as much development as possible within that time frame. So it's kind of encouraging it almost, isn't it, as well?
Yeah.
So,
but it's getting that balance right.
Yeah. Thank you.
Not a problem. Any other questions at that point? No. So we have developed a free, and it's free to all practitioners, it's free to all parents, and it is on NYES. So if you've never heard of NYES, NYES is the training platform that is in North Yorkshire. And it also has a lot of other training, such as unlocking autism, unlocking ADHD, etc. And it is free, as I say, for practitioners and parents. All you need to do is you can log in, and all you really need to do is create your own login. And you can do that by contacting NYES. They create the logins. I don't do that, but there is a wide variety of training on NYES, because we've created a lot of 5-minute videos that you can watch, and it demonstrates and models some play. Laura, would you like to share some of the titles that we have?
Yeah, I did mine on threading, but I know Jo, who's a Portage practitioner in Scarborough as well, she did it on stacking. There's ones on jigsaw, there's ones on like messy, more sensory play, using shape sorters, and they're all developed by Portage practitioners. So it shows you like a good starting point, and then once your child's confident in that area, what you can move on to next as well, just to build on those skills.
Yeah. There's even some on musical interaction that you can play in the background, and luckily enough, it's not me singing. So it is somebody that's got a tuneful voice.
Yeah, to go on to voice, there's when I'm making a choice, and that's often really helpful for children, because it helps them get their voice heard about what they want and stuff as well. So that one's a nice one as well.
So please do take a look. There's also Dingley's Promise training. Yes, Janine.
Hello. I had Portage over at Bradford Council for my daughter a couple of years back now, and all their practitioners were Makaton trained. Is that something that's part of the bundle at all?
So we haven't actually created any Makaton videos, which we could do. We've only got a couple on there. So I think you've hit an idea where I can actually widen it, because we've got a few Makaton videos, but not the full extent where I think we could definitely create more. There's always a gap, and you've found it, Janine.
But yeah, I'm Makaton trained, and quite a few other Portage practitioners are as well are Makaton trained, so we do use it as well. But yeah, maybe we just need to make another video.
We definitely need to make more videos.
Just like the core, you know, because my daughter especially didn't have any speech, nothing verbal at all, when she started with Portage when she was 2. And Makaton really helped, and it was Portage specifically that were doing songs with Makaton at the stay and play sessions that we attended, because we were on a waiting list for the home visits, so we didn't get home visits at all. So even just at the stay and play sessions, having Makaton there was really helpful. And she only used one Makaton sign the whole time until she started to verbalise a little bit more. And it was just the sign for more. And it was because you guys were doing play and singing and songs with Makaton that she learned, you know, to keep going, just keep using the more sign. So I think it's really helpful to have that core vocab for parents. You know, I appreciate there's Makaton courses everywhere that cost a fortune, but that's not accessible for a lot of parents, is it? So
yeah. I mean, obviously we do, you know, you've got something special out there as well, but I think we can do our North Yorkshire version of some Makaton.
yeah. Thank you.
So definitely. No, thank you. So yes, Dingley's Promise. So Dingley's Promise training is really designed for early years practitioners, but some courses are really useful for parents as well. And it's free to anyone who's living and working in North Yorkshire. And I always say that if a parent's living outside of North Yorkshire, you can use a North Yorkshire setting or school postcode to register. It is continuing to be free up until July of next year, and then we're just waiting to find out whether the funding is going to be extended for Dingley's. So it is worth just having a look at some of those titles. But I'm going to hand over to Laura.
Yeah, thank you. These are some of the other websites that I signpost the families that I'm working with too, for different help and advice. So the first one there, the National Portage Association, on their website, and if you Google it, you'll find it. And on their website, there's some advice sheets, things about how to help your child drink from a cup, or how to help them develop other different play skills. Really breaks down the advice into small steps. They've also got a Facebook page as well that I'm navigating some of my parents to, just because it's got some little advice about what Portage is doing on a bigger scale, and some nice videos to share about what Portage is and how it works. Lynne's mentioned about NYES. Eric is it's an unusual name, I always think, because it's about toilet training. So lots of advice on there about toilet training. The sleep charity is one that I mention a lot to my families as well. Lots of advice sheets on there about sleep, so many things about sleep, not just routines, but touching upon like night tremors, or children with additional needs. There's a lot on there, and there's a number as well that families can ring and get some advice from somebody as well. The Let's Make Sense Together, that's a series of advice sheets and videos that have been put together by the children's therapy team, so OTs. So there's lots of things on there about things like toothbrushing, biting, yeah, all sorts of different things. If you're stuck, there's usually an advice sheet on there that can help you. And then the BBC's Tiny Happy People, they've got lots of lovely videos on there about child development, and they've also got a send area as well, which has got some more advice specifically for children with additional needs. And there's a nice one I'm sharing at the moment about overstimulation during the Christmas holidays, because Christmas is that time where routines and everything just goes out the window. You've got a tree in your room with lights on, there's all this chocolate for breakfast, nothing is as it is for the rest of the year. And there's just some nice advice on there that I'm sharing with my parents at the moment. Things like, you know, don't wrap presents. If it's too much for the child to have a wrapped present, don't wrap it. Save yourself a job. Just leave it all out. Santa can leave it all out under the tree, and then when the child walks down, they can see it rather than being overwhelmed or confused by what's going on. Yeah, I think that's most of them that I mentioned most. There's other ones about toothbrushing, got some Makaton advice about going to the dentist, and things like that as well. Yeah, I can't think of any more off the top of my head, but yeah, that's most of them.
Thanks, Laura. Yeah, the Let's Make Sense Together in particular, that's quite a recent site that's been developed, and I must admit it's got a lot on there that's really useful. And what I love is the fact that all of these things, they're now starting to get everything pulled into one place. So you don't have to hunt through Google.
Yeah, and it's nice as well because parents think that they might be the only person who can't get their child to brush their teeth or go in the bath, and actually no, there's advice sheets about this. There's lots of ways we can help you with it.
Absolutely. So just kind of like I've said this so many times, that Portage groups, we are getting more of them set up. And from January 2026, I am sure, you know, I'll be sending them all to Catherine and Sarah. So I am sure that the Parent Carer Voice Facebook page will be flooded with them. And we'll make sure it's on the local offer as well. And we will keep sending some flyers out there. And we'll get it across the Family Information Service Facebook page as well. That's North Yorkshire. But remember, at the moment, we do have half-termly groups and the new area on local offer. Janine.
Hello again, sorry.
No,
I just
don't
wondered
ever say sorry.
If you signposted to contact the disabled charity, just there, they have a load of helpful guides, especially if you're new to send. They have a huge guide that's really helpful for parents, how to fill out DLA forms, and you know, there's brilliant stuff on there. So I just wondered if you had signposting to them because they're fab.
Yeah, we do. So on for any family that we become involved with, as we kind of do our plan, our intervention plan, we kind of call it. But at the end, we always provide parents and families with a kind of next steps and where they can go to next, and contacts always on that list. I must admit, I haven't put everything that we kind of signpost and recommend because we always filter it out for each family, but contact is always there because absolutely you're right, it's got a raft of amazing resources, and I used to use contact all the time when my daughter was growing up as well. So thank you. Catherine.
Yeah, just one thing about the Portage groups, for if anybody's signposting parents to them, just as a kind of, you know, we know children are social beings and they need to be out there, and it can be so difficult accessing a mainstream play group or any, you know, bumps and babies group or anything like that. And that's the wonderful thing about the Portage groups, is they're so inclusive, and you're with people who understand. And it's just, you know, it's just kind of something for people to bear in mind if they're in settings or something, or in a position to signpost families to the Portage groups. It's really, you know, my daughter had Portage, you know, a lot of us have had Portage, and the worst thing was taking my daughter to a typical play group. It was it was your nightmare, because she just was not at a stage that all the other children were, and it just highlighted her disability. Whereas you go to a Portage group and it's really inclusive, and you're with, you know, in a very supportive environment. So it's really nice to kind of push that, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah, it's a big, we love it when parents get chatting to each other, because you know that sometimes that you work with a child with the same condition, and when the parents meet at groups, then they've got somebody who's going through the same thing, somebody who they can really relate to. And like you said, we're there as Portage practitioners, but our managers are there as well. So I might meet some children that are working with the other Portage practitioner for Scarborough, but we'll have different ideas and just other things to try as well. And yeah, like you say, if they're banging, we'll probably join in and do some loud banging as well. Like, that's what parents really like. It's that there's no judgment at all.
Yeah, I think the last Portage group that I was at, which wasn't too long ago, I spent the entire hour and a bit just playing peekaboo around a door, because that's where that child wanted to be at that point. So I was doing peekaboo on the round the door and just giggling away. And we both had an absolutely fantastic time. So sometimes it's not even about they have to come in. We always meet them exactly where they are, like I keep saying. And that's the other reason why we're trying to extend our groups widely, because we know in some areas there aren't many groups in any case that you can actually take your child to. So we're trying to make sure that there is somewhere that you can go. So with that, any other questions? I know it can be quite overwhelming where that, I think this slide's the hardest, isn't it? When you're presenting for people, because they feel like, oh, do I have to have one? No, you don't. You really do not need to have a question for me at all. But thank you. I think all I need to say then is thank you so much for coming along and listening to us. And we are going to make sure that the slides are sent to Sarah, and Sarah will be able to put those wherever she needs to. But thank you very much. And I hope, you know, you can contact me. That my contacts details are on the slide as well. Contact me at any time. And to be honest, I am up and normally working at every hour. So please do contact me at any time. And I will get back to you. So even if you want to just have a further chat and discussion about Portage and whether Portage is right for you, family or a child that you know, then please do. Do not hesitate to contact us at any time. That's what we're here for. We're here to help you and your child and your family. But thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you, Lynn. Thank you, Laura. That's been fantastic. It's an absolutely wonderful service, and yeah, absolutely benefits so many children and families. And thank you for taking the time to speak to us tonight. And thank you everyone for joining us. And thank you. And I'll send on the recording to everybody, hopefully tomorrow. So thank you and enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much
Thank you.
indeed.
Bye,
guys.
everybody. Bye.
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 Thank you.